Hey guys, Jacob here. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about something that I haven't really thought about talking about too much, and that's going to be the Division 3. Now, the only reason I'm making this video is due to the fact that a lot of people have actually sent me personal messages on this and actually asked me to talk about this topic, and also a few guys in my comment section on my previous video asked me to talk about the leaks on the Division 3. Now, the one thing I'm going to bring up first is going to be this tweet by Roberto Sonero, which this info about the Division 3 coming this year despite the massive entertainment studio is also working on the Avatar game and newly announced Star Wars project, and he was replying to Shoot to Loot any updates about the Division 3. Now, so far we haven't really heard much from Massive Entertainment. We've gotten a few things. I know Trick Dempsey had an interview with IGN, and they discussed pretty much where the direction the story is going to be going, and they pointed out that Natalia Sokolova is still out there, and the Division story is far from over. Now, I'm not surprised that we're going to be getting more story narrative content, because I feel like the Division in general has a lot more story to tell, and potentially maybe in the third or fourth game. This depends on how they handle the game and how they handle the future of the Division 2 and Division 3. We'll just have to wait until we see what comes up. But so far, this is what we've seen from Twitter, and obviously the IGN post, which I've already made a video on, and you guys can go look at look that up if you want to. It's out there all over the internet, and if you guys are really curious. Now, to pretty much give my thoughts about this and overall on the Division 3, and people have been asking me, what's my wish list? What are some things I want to see in the Division 3? And I can't list everything to the fact that that would take probably a whole hour for things I want to see in Division 3. But this is going to be pretty much part 1 out of maybe part 2 or 3 video. This depends on what we're going to be seeing in the future and also what we'll be seeing at E3. But keep this in mind, I do not expect to see this game at E3. I don't expect to see it probably till maybe next year when they reveal it potentially at next year's E3 and give us a bit of a demo, and then it will come out the year after. But a few things I would like to see. For one, I'm going to be talking about the Division 1, 2, and Warlords New York map size. As you guys know, the Division 2 had a pretty decent sized map, and the Division 1 had a pretty huge map as well, and Warlords New York was a pretty small map compared to both games, but it was an expansion and slash DLC. Now, I'm hoping with the Xbox Series X, PS5, and obviously the new graphics cards for computers or computers in general, will be getting a more of a bigger area, and potentially they could be making an area that's the size of the original Division map, which you guys may or may not remember. I feel like this is very unlikely, but this is a picture from the original E3 demo, which kind of resembles Division 2 a little bit in some ways, and also Division 1, because this is from Division 1. This is right at the start of the tutorial in Brooklyn, and there's obviously areas they've showed off like Manhattan and stuff like that you can go to in the Dark Zone. But you guys will see that there is a DZ right here dead center, and there's a DZ across in the other area. Now, there's also other points all over the map that are objectives that you can go to, but keep this in mind, this is from 2013, and since then, Division 1 has already came and gone, and the updates were thrown out in the game is completely different compared to what we got and what we've seen in the footage back then. But I would like them to see maybe a map expansion, maybe give us more of a bigger map and a bigger area. I'm not sure if they're going to end up reusing areas like Brooklyn or Queens, or maybe even use Manhattan again, but I'm really not sure. Now, for new areas as well, like I said, a lot of people want Brooklyn to come back and, use that for, the upper New York Bay area. In the lower New York Bay area, some people want that. But also, another thing, too, I will point out that a lot of people don't remember, and people are saying, oh yeah, Division 1 was always one big DZ. But if you go back and look at the original Division 1 and look in the E3 footage, you will clearly see there are multiple. There's a DZ in the center, there's a DZ above in the bigger area of the map, and also on the right side of the map you can see there's another dark zone. So there's a huge one, there's a really small one, and there's a more medium-sized one that's on the right side that you guys will see right there. Now, I know this is probably, a lot to ask, especially for the map sizes we're currently already getting, but maybe with the new consoles, potentially we'll be getting a bigger Dark Zone, so people from the Division 1 can get the PvP they want, like me. I miss the old Division 1 style DZs, and also maybe give us a brand new PvE area, so we can have tons of stuff, like incursions, raids, etc., and that will make both sides happy and give us multiple types of game modes. Now, the next thing I'm going to be talking about for a few things I want to see is going to be game modes. For one, obviously in pretty much Division 1 and 2, we got different types of DLC. For Division 1, though, in April, we got the Incursions, which was a lot of fun playing the Incursions. Then we got Conflict, which was update 1.2, and then Underground, which was the next expansion we got. And Underground was just a lot of fun playing. And then after that, we got Survival, which was PvP and PvE. And then finally, Last Stand. And if you want to go even further than that, we got the 1.8 updates where they expanded the Dark Zone and also gave us Skirmish, which was a lot of fun, and even the Resistance Survival game mode. So hopefully in the Division 3, they give us more variety of game modes instead of stuff like just Summit, which I'm sorry, to me is absolutely boring. I felt like Underground was more entertaining because it just had a certain atmosphere to it, and I feel like that Summit just isn't that entertaining to me. I feel like it's kind of boring and repetitive, and a lot of things are in this game, but stuff like the Incursions were a lot of fun too as well because they had a little bit of challenges to them. For example, on Falcon Lost, you had to pretty much go blow up the APC. On Clear Skies, you had to pretty much put in batteries to defend yourself and deactivate the turret the guy was using. And on stuff like Stolen Signal, you had to use shield builds to block yourself from Gatling guns and disable explosives and stuff like that. And it had some kind of element of challenge to it. In this, there's not really anything like that. Of course, I will talk about Operation Iron Horse, and it did have some mechanics that were like this a little bit, where you had to have certain people hit certain buttons and time stuff correctly, and also have people at different positions. Same goes for Dark Hours, but Dark Hours is pretty much just a flat out DPS check and people know what they're doing. But Iron Horse is the only thing I can really say that reminds me a little bit of the Division 1 mechanics. And one thing I will say about the Division 1 and 2, Division 1 I feel like had a lot more PvP in it, which a lot of people loved, and also had PvE, and Division 2 has more PvE in it than PvP. So I feel like if they took both games and kind of merged them together, then you would get a pretty much really good balance and make both sides, most players happy, I guess. Not maybe both sides, but most. I know some people want more PvE than PvP, but in games like this, you kind of have to balance it to make both sides happy. Now for the Division 2, this is the current map. We have DZ West, we have DZ East, then we have DZ South, and we have stuff like the Pentagon, the first raid, the second raid, and then we have the New York expansion, and I love all this stuff. I thought this stuff was awesome. Not you, Kinley College. I'm sorry, I hate Kinley College. That's the one thing I don't really care that much about, but I did enjoy some of these, expansions they did give us, but I feel like instead of giving us stuff like the Pentagon, maybe they should have gave us a game mode in the Season 1 update, and then when the next major update came out, back when they gave us Summit, they could have gave us something else, and instead of giving us Summit, and then after that maybe gave us Summit as a third DLC. But I feel like there's so much they could have added instead of maybe say like Kinley College, which originally was going to be like the Resident Evil event. Maybe get rid of Kinley College, and you guys should have made that a game mode, maybe a PvP game mode, or put that work into new stuff, like new skirmish maps or even a new Dark Zone. Personally, I feel like this whole area up here could have been made into DZ North, and you guys could have pretty much had maybe not this big of a DZ, but have another cutout of an area that is another DZ and give us more PvP and other areas to go to and give us a bit more variety. Another thing as well I will talk about is going to be build diversity. I feel like in the Division 1 and the Division 2, builds were obviously way different. In Division 1, everything had a counter and everything had a use. If you wanted to survive for a long period of time, you use stuff like Nomad. If you wanted multiple procs, or if you wanted to be a tank and go up against players, you use stuff like Defense. If you had people constantly throwing nades, you use Final Measure. If you needed heals, use Reclaimer. If you wanted crowd control, you could use stuff like Firecrest. Or if you wanted to one-tap people or NPCs, use stuff like Hunter's Faith or Deadeye. Or if you wanted tons of flat damage, you could use Banshee or Striker, or if you wanted to absolutely piss people off, use stuff like Predator. Now, in the Division 2, there are some builds that coexist with each other if people are using stuff like Vanguard, Tardigrade, or even skill builds and healer builds and kind of stuff like that. But I feel like that in Division 2, a lot of people run the same stuff, and it kind of gets a little boring fighting the same thing over and over and over again. And I always find myself having trouble to make new builds and also testing new stuff and trying to overall have fun with some of the things I'm making. Like currently I'm messing around with the Regulus because it's a very fun gun to use. But in PvP, most people run the same thing. And for PvE, it gets really boring and repetitive running the same thing over and over and over again. If they added a game mode similar to like Resistance or Survival, I might be in PvE more because it gives you something to shoot for. Like, oh, maybe I want to get a better time in Survival, or maybe in Resistance resistance, I want to survive way longer and try getting to wave, 30 or 40 or 50, just depending on how far you can go and how long you can keep your team alive and how long you can survive for, and potentially, keep releasing more and more harder enemies. And say you get to level 50, it could release, 5 hunters you have to fight. Or say you get to 100, it could release 10 hunters you have to fight. I feel like there's so many ideas they could do with this game. And obviously there's a few other things they could have done with Div 1 and Div 2 and made both games better. But overall, those are just a few things I would like to see in, Part 3 of the game. And finally, people are going to ask me, when do I think we will see Part 3? And a lot of you guys have been asking me, when will I see Part 3? And personally, I don't think we'll see it for a while. I could be wrong. If they do tease it at E3 this year, which I don't think they will, I'd be super shocked, because I feel like that their main focus on the Division currently at the moment is getting Year 3 out and getting this new game mode, new season, and whatever else they have cooking up. So I'm really curious to see what goes with that, and also I'm really curious to see what Red Storm does, if they're going to be taking more over this game than Massive now, since they're working on multiple projects. So maybe they'll hop in and help out and publish the third game. But overall, if you guys have anything you want to see in the future of the game, please let me know in the comments section below. And also, like I said, this will be part 1, so there's going to be probably a few other things I will discuss about what I think will be in Division 3. But I'm making this because you guys asked for it, so I'm giving you guys my thoughts on it. But please let me know in the comments below what you guys think will be in the next game. As always, thank you all for watching. Make sure you subscribe for more Division 2 content, and I'll catch you guys all. BT!